education meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, if you can please stand. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Next, we'll do with the consent agenda. So we have two items. The minutes of the October 23rd board meeting, as well as the statement of receipts and expenditures for October 2023. Do we have a motion for approval?
So move.
Second? Sean, seconds. Any questions, discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that passes. Superintendent Nelson will go through the superintendent's report.
Yes, so happy Thanksgiving. Hope everyone had a great weekend and with family and friends. And as Bob and I were talking about, it's chilly, but it depends on where you're from and how chilly it really is. So I think it's really cold today. But looking at the high schoolers, they don't think it's as cold because they're wearing shorts. So I guess it's relative. We have our board election coming up, and you'll see that in the agenda it says non-candidacy deadline of Friday, December 22nd for our incumbents, and then candidate filing deadline of Tuesday, January 2nd at 5, and the school board spring election is April 2nd, 2024. If you go to our website, there's a tab on the right of the school board. Kara's done a really nice job of updating some links in there with some various information. So it'll show our two incumbents, which will be Mr. Rossi and Ms. Taylor, alphabetically assigned. And then there's a place where candidate profiles will be updated in that area. And there's also a link with general information for school board candidates and a link with the forms and instructions for running the school board, as well as that short questionnaire that each candidate completes. So if anyone has questions about that, they can either contact Mr. Nada or myself, but there's a ton of information on our website. And I wanted to provide an update to the board on the work that our team has done since our last meeting regarding JLMS expansion. So Topher later in the agenda is going to be talking about the technical work around the building and the work that's been done with that. But on Monday, November 13th, we have productive site visits to Fox Point Bayside Middle School, which is in the Fox Point Bayside School District, and Lake Danoon Middle School, which is in the Muskego School District, to sort of see the difference between our current 6-8 model and what a 5-8 model could look like. Fox Point, our Bayside Middle School is a small district. It's a K-8 district. Muskego is a big district. They have two middle schools, twice as big as we are, at least twice as big as we are, so really able to see two different sizes and how they work as a team. We had our current 6 fifth grade teachers, so those our current 5th grade teachers, Sheila Binder as a school psych, Brett Dimmer representing the elective arts as a band teacher, Rachel Baranek as a counselor, Chris Weiss as middle school principal, Dr. McMahon, and myself. And then at each building, we were able to meet with the principal for a Q&A and hear his or her thoughts on what the 5-8 model looks like. We were able to then observe teachers teaching in that model. We could float in and out of rooms, and then we had a Q&A with those teachers. So our teachers, administration, all of us could ask questions to those teachers. We basically saw two different philosophies of teaching. Neither one of them had a typical middle school model where kids went from classroom to classroom. They have 6 different teachers throughout the day. In one model, they had 2 teachers. So teachers teamed together. One taught math and science, one taught ELA and social studies. In another, they had 3, and so it was sort of a mixture of 3 teachers. And so our team is meeting tomorrow to debrief, since we'd gone on the 13th, and it was a short week, and then we had the holiday weekend. We're meeting tomorrow morning during their PD 45 to debrief on their thoughts that they had during the site visit and set up next steps. And so we were able to see that. And then also I was able to attend Kennedy's PTG meeting on Monday, November 20th. And then Tuesday, November 21st, I was able to attend Woodview's PTG meeting. Both had approximately 25 people in attendance. Shared a presentation that showed both Kennedy and Woodview before the 2017 referendum, what it looked like then, what it looks like now, and then shared the need for additional space in our buildings with our increasing enrollment. And the site visits we've been on as a team. Concerns that were shared at Kennedy were relating to class sizes and student-to-teacher ratio. Woodview parents shared concerns about moving 5th grade to John Long and losing some of those 5th grade traditions, having kids grow up too fast. So we had the principals keep track of the questions that were asked. One of the questions that was asked was about Y-Care, and if we have Y-Care for 5th graders, So as I was reviewing the questions with Dr. McMahon, he said that we currently do have Y Care at at Woodview for middle school kids already. So there are some students who stay in the library after school is out, walk directly over to Woodview, and are involved in Y Care. So it's an option now, an option we can continue doing, but that's why we're keeping track of questions people ask. So as we get groups together that work with various aspects of the district, that we can have those questions answered. And as I shared at both of the meetings, just as in the last referendum when we had to bring 3 elementaries to 2 elementaries, we had to keep track of traditions, some of those pieces that went with it, and that's what the 5th grade teachers will be doing. They'll be bringing traditions from Woodview and Kennedy. What does that look like at John Long? It's one of the agenda items for tomorrow morning is what are those traditions? Because they might even have different ones, even though they may be similar, be different because they're 2 different schools. So those are things that we'll continue to work on as a team and work to create an FAQ as we move forward. So I appreciate the parents taking the time to come to the meeting, share their thoughts, and look forward to continued dialogue with them. And it was a good opportunity to hear some of their thoughts and get some questions down and some work still for us to continue working on as we move forward. And then as we move forward, we have Mr. Moore here to talk about the high school athletes and their accomplishments in the fall sports season.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to bring to you our annual fall athletic highlights for this past sports season. I think it's been a remarkable season for GHS in more ways than one, and in each case, it's very much a reflection of a lot of hard work and dedication put in by our kids and by our coaches. First of all, in cross country, Callie Faust qualified for the state meet for the 2nd consecutive year and finished 18th overall. And in Callie's case, she is our school record holder and broke it several times over the course of the fall, which is remarkable. And she's only a sophomore, which is fantastic. She was named first team all-conference. Boys soccer team were regional champions. All-conference honorees were Caden Sumner on the 2nd team and Jacob Olsen honorable mention. Girls swim and dive, Hannah Gomper was a swim representative in the 500 freestyle. Sophie Shoemaker qualified in dive, so we had 2 representatives off of that team. In volleyball, conference honorees were Caitlin Muki on the 2nd team, Paige Prayfrock on the 2nd team, and Ella Johnston-Fedor as honorable mention. And then the football team, which generated a lot of community excitement this fall with their run to the state championship game, won its 2nd consecutive Woodland Conference championship, and then won 4 playoff games to reach the WIA state championship game, finishing as state championship runners-up. Also highlighted is a team cumulative GPA of 3.33 or higher, which qualified them as academic team all-state, which I think that intelligence reflected some of their play on the field. All conference honorees were first team offense, Harrison Burke, Carson Hildebrand, Brady Hilgard, Gavin Lemke, Tommy Lutz, Miles Muhlenberg, James Nellis, Thomas Peterson, and Jaden Teagues. All conference defense, Harrison Burke, Jackson Heinley, Tyler Heinley, Matthew Sugar, Tyler Van Sluis. All conference honorable mention included Garrett Bonk, Ian Cornelius, Tyler Deere, Jeremy Dickerson, Jackson Heinley, James Nellis, Dalton Rendell, Connor Robinson, Thomas Peterson, and Nick Schiller. Offensive player of the year in the conference was quarterback Brady Hilgard. Lineman of the year was James Nellis from Grafton High School. All region included Jackson Heinley, Brady Hilgard, and James Nellis. The Woodland Conference Scholar Athlete Representative from Grafton High School was Jackson Heinley, and the Conference Coach of the Year was Jim Norris. And as you can see, our state runner-up trophy is on display tonight, and we persuaded several of our senior leaders that are standing behind me to be represented to represent the program this evening. So standing behind me are Jackson Heinley, Harrison Burke, and Garrett Bonk, all seniors, all major contributors to this year's team. Coach Norris would have been with us, but as we know, as well has been well publicized, he has got a new and growing family, and he and his wife Abby have their hands full at home with not only a toddler but a newborn. So we'll give him a pass for tonight, I think. So with that, that concludes my athletic highlights.
So in my years here, we've had individual state champions, whether it's been Owen Priga. Remember in July of 2022, we had for Skills USA national champion. And then last year we had Miranda Edke and Libby Michaels for swim and dive being state champions. In the 8 years I've been here, we've never had a team make it to the state championship game. So by bringing home a ball, this is the first time, so we thought we would have the board recognize the team. Other teams make the playoffs, but to bring home a ball is a significant accomplishment with only 2 teams in the state doing that at each level. We hadn't done it in 39 years, and so these guys were significant contributors towards that. I did talk to Coach Norris today. Deckers was sick, and so that's why there's a little bit more, even just than having a baby. So he's fine, and they're home, but he had to put family first in that way. But he did express his appreciation for the board and the high school staff and the whole community supporting the team. And These guys did a great job representing us, and you've heard their names right up here, and it was really a great experience for the whole community. So if you guys want to say something about your experience and what your thoughts were on it. You spoke at the assembly, not very long, which we're okay with. Jackson, I can tell you want to say something.
I mean, it was awesome. It was great to be able to go to Camp Randall. I mean, it was kind of surreal. Seeing our names up on the big screen was awesome. The season kind of flew by. It was amazing to think that it was 14 weeks. I mean, it was what? 3 weeks longer than last year, and it felt a lot shorter. I mean, it just flies by when we have a great team like we did.
Oh, you're doing great.
So I would say it was obviously a great experience. Being at Camp Randall, I mean, just walking in when we were all just standing on the turf, I mean, just kind of letting everything soak in. I mean, it's just incredible. And the team's success was obviously just through the roof this year, and I'm proud of everyone, including the players and the coaching staff, for our success this year.
Tough crowd. So week 2, I got injured at Port, and we ended up losing that game by quite a few. And I'm just really proud of our guys to bounce back throughout the season, and for all the hard work our coaches put in through the year to give us good schemes to go out there and execute. So it was really fun, and I definitely know it's some memories I won't forget. So, yeah. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, and what was cool is that we figured out that there was like it was 19% of our student body was on the field, because you had the football team, you had the dancers out there, and you had the band marching out there as well, and you had the cheerleaders on there. So you had 20% of our student body being on the field at Camp Randall, the flagship university in the state, and what a great experience for not only the team but all these other students as well, which was really great, and we're happy for our kids.
Any other comments for the players that we have here?
It was, I mean, I got to attend most of the games, take a lot of pictures, you guys. So thanks for letting me get so close and sharing the ride. It was awesome being on the field at Camp Randall. I think we had 29% of the board on the field for that game too. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was great to see the community support. You know, I'm the old guy here. I was here in '81. I was here in '82, and I was there in '84. You know, so to be there with you guys in 2023 was certainly fun. And you know, for me, one of the best parts, you know, during the ride through the playoffs and all the way to Camp Randall was there were so many alumni that came back. Some teams that didn't have nearly the success you guys had, but you know, they were cheering, and you know, to have them come from all corners of the state, you know, to be there and support was pretty fun to see. So, you know, certainly congratulations on that. And, you know, the trophy, whether it's a year from now or 5 years, 10 years, 20, you guys will know where that trophy is in the case, you know, and when you come back, you'll be able to tell stories, and you're going to remember everything that went into putting that ball there. So, you know, certainly congratulations to all you guys.
So thanks for coming, guys.
Yes.
Appreciate it. Good job.
I just want to add in one more word about just not only the community support, but from the district office to the administration, to our teaching staff, to our students, on the time and energy it takes to mobilize that many kids and that many community, and all the details that go into that. Really, the ladies in our office, Colette Gergens, Andy Gerke, Amanda Brennan, Principal Scott Manti, Mike Kalina, just everybody, and the effort that was put in that week was really remarkable to make that happen. So the team worked hard, the district worked hard, and it was just a wonderful thing for our community. So we appreciate all the support from the board. Thank you.
And we appreciate the extra work. You have a full-time job in 1 week. You know, a lot of things had to come together, from T-shirts to the buses and everything that you said. So certainly do appreciate that, because it was a first-class effort all the way around and a first-class experience for everybody. So thank you to everyone that was involved in that as well.
And that concludes my report.
All right. Any questions for Jeff on the superintendent's report? Okay. All right, we will go to the next agenda item, which is public comment. So is there anyone here tonight that would like to address the board? Name and address.
My address, oh, okay. I am April Shanks. My address is West Orchard Drive in Grafton. But I'm actually here on behalf of the Grafton Education Foundation with our monthly report, and I have lots of save the dates for you. Our fundraising efforts are starting to kick off for this year's grant cycle. So on December 11th, RILU is offering 20% of their proceeds back to the Grafton Education Foundation in a shopping event. Save the date for Night of Giving. It is very, very likely, I was told I could tell you, April 12th. Probably at the same venue, but they are looking at a few other things. June 5th for the Color Blast. And then grant applications will be due to staff February 29th. And then a last plug for the end of the year giving for our Seeds to Harvest. A lot of people like to get some last minute giving in for tax purposes, so don't forget Seeds to Harvest if you're one of those people. And then we will have some open board positions if you know anyone who would be great for that. Our president and Seeds to Harvest co-chairs will need to be, we'll have to find some new people. And our next meeting is December 11th. That's it.
Excellent. Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, I'm Tracy Strickland. We live on Elm Street here in Grafton. I have a daughter, Mia, who's a second grader at Woodview, and my son, Judah, is 2.5, so we'll be at Woodview in a couple of years. I'm here today to express my concern regarding the proposed plan to move fifth grade students to John Long Middle School. While I understand the need to carefully evaluate educational structures and make necessary adjustments, I believe implementing this would not be in the best interest of our children. First and foremost, fifth grade is a critical year in a student's elementary school journey. It serves as a bridge between the early years of primary education and the more demanding middle school environment. By spending their final year in elementary school, children have the opportunity to further develop their foundational skills, build confidence, and solidify their social connections with peers and teachers who have played a significant role in their academic and emotional growth. I acknowledge there may be financial benefits associated with moving the fifth graders to the middle school. However, it is essential to strike a balance between financial considerations and the overall well-being of our students. While money is an important factor, we should not overlook the emotional benefits of allowing our children to complete their elementary school journey in a familiar and nurturing environment. This continuity fosters a sense of security, enhances their emotional development, and prepares them for future academic challenges. Furthermore, it is crucial to acknowledge the adverse effects the COVID-19 pandemic has had on our children's childhood and school experiences. For multiple years, our students faced numerous challenges and disruptions, including prolonged periods of remote learning and limited social interactions. These unprecedented circumstances have already caused them to miss out on crucial aspects of their childhood and school activities. Moving the fifth grade to the middle school at this time would further add to the pressure on our children to grow up more quickly, denying them the opportunity to fully enjoy the final year of their elementary school experience. It is essential that we prioritize their emotional well-being and allow them the time and space to gradually adjust and regain a sense of normalcy before transitioning to the middle school environment. In conclusion, I strongly urge the school board to reconsider the proposal to move fifth grade students to John Long. Let us prioritize the holistic development of our children and provide them with the opportunity to complete their elementary school education in a nurturing and familiar environment. By allowing them to flourish and grow at their own pace, we can ensure a smoother transition to the challenges and rigors of middle school in the future. Thank you.
Thank Anyone else like to address the board? Okay. All right, seeing none, we will go to agenda item C, which is recommendations for board action from the curriculum committee. So hands off to Carrie and Michael.
Yeah, we had a busy curriculum committee meeting with lots of action items as well as some informational items. The first and foremost is just one that we bring every November, and that's the approval of new courses. We go through a process in the early parts of the fall to start to look at our current courses and what changes we can make for next year. So we bring forward 2 new courses and 1 course change. The curriculum committee spoke at length. We had a chance to listen to Mike Bergman speak about our math department and a new course they're recommending, as well as Joe Brown speaking to our music department's new course. But what we're bringing to you for full board approval is the replacement of pre-calc at the high school to be an AP pre-calc course, as well as the name change to the similar post-Algebra 2 course of FST, or Functions, Statistics, and Trigonometry, to be a new course titled Introductions to College Algebra and Trigonometry. Those would be our 2 math changes. And then we're also recommending the change of a music appreciation course within our music department, a more generalized course for all students to take. And then finally, we're looking for a change in prerequisites for advanced foods to require both our previous courses of baking principles and food concepts to be at a grade of C or better to take those courses.
Yeah, we had a great chance to talk about it at the pre-calc. About 85% of the topics are already covered, but switching it to an AP pre-calc, they'll be bumping up Algebra 2 this year in preparation for it, including mathematic, thank you. So they'll be making implementations this year to prepare the students in Honors Algebra 2 to be prepared to take AP Pre-Calc next year. The change in the name, we decided as the committee was fully supported, as it's really just more representative of what is being taught in the class, as statistics were not being emphasized. And then band, he had presented, and it's a great opportunity to add a new class of music appreciation. It would bring in kids who maybe don't play band or don't do music. It gives them another opportunity to be in a music class. And the request from Family and Computer Science prereqs, both of those are amazing classes. So yes, you want to be successful and prepared to succeed.
Thank you. Seeking board approval for those changes.
Okay. Any additional questions or comments? I know most of us were at the curriculum committee and discussed this with the staff there. Okay, if not, so Kara, so we're taking, this is item 1 and 2, correct?
If we can do it,
Two separate. Okay. All right, so first we would look for an approval for the new courses from AP Pre-Calc and Music Appreciation. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
Any additional discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that passes. And then the second is the changes in, do we say aye? Aye. Opposed, and that passes as well. So thank you for
Learning. And with that came part of an adoption process tied to Board Policy 2510, where we're bringing forth any textbook or a text that is read by the entire grade level. And so our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade team has kind of planned out their instruction for this year and are looking for board approval for these 2 novels to be a part of a whole group read aloud, or what they're called long reads in our new resource. Interestingly enough, these are both texts that we had read previously, but fit into the scope and sequence of HMH into literature. And so we're seeking approval to move forward with A Christmas Carol as a part of our 6th grade scope and sequence of HMH into literature, and Tuck Everlasting as a part of our 7th grade HMH into literature. For 8th grade, the reason they're not bringing anything forward tonight is the connection to that historical inquiry course and some of the work that they're doing across both of those. They're not recommending a full text for 8th grade at this point, but we'll continue to look. And as we implement this first year of HMH into literature, if there's other opportunities. But this is what we're recommending for this year and future years that we're using HMH into literature.
any questions for Michael or the curriculum committee? Okay, so with that, we would look for an approval of the novels listed to be implemented this school year and to continue to align with the adoption period of HMH into literature.
So moved.
We have first, do we have a second?
Second.
Any additional discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that passes as well. All right, item D.
So what we've done is we've condensed our school report card presentation from the board curriculum committee that was a lengthy 2-hour presentation. I've condensed that, so we won't be here for 2 hours. The Bears play the Vikings tonight, if anyone else cares, but I might be the only one. Anyway, so we have a school report card presentation we bring forward each year in November. For the last number of years, it's been released early in November that allows us to talk through it at curriculum. As a reminder, the district report card is based on 4 criteria or 4 priority areas. Student achievement in the area of ELA and math being one of them. Growth in ELA and math, how students are growing from year to year. Beginning in 3rd grade, they take the forward assessment through 8th grade. In ELA and math, they also take it in science and social studies in 4th and 8th. And then in high school, we added the pre-ACT secure last year in 9th and 10th grade, and then of course the ACT in 11th grade. The other priority area is target group outcomes, which you'll hear a little bit more about tonight. That is specifically the students that are in the bottom 25 percentile in the previous year's test. How do they perform the following year? And the state tracks that and gives us a score. And then finally, on-track graduation. This year, we're excited to present that we were 14th out of 363 districts, K4 through 12th in the state of Wisconsin, with an overall expectation of 4 stars exceeds expectations. You can see the trend of our report card the last number of years. This year exceeds expectation is lower than last year. We had significantly exceeded expectations for 4 consecutive years, crossing over that 2020 year where we didn't have the necessarily report card because of COVID. However, we'll talk through kind of the why behind that. We still have some celebrations within there, but we also have some work to do specifically tied to that target group outcomes that I just mentioned. How we're weighted in those 4 categories also changes each year, and that's reflective of your population of socioeconomic status. And so the less free and reduced number, percentage of students you have, the more the state puts in achievement. And so you can see we went from 35.3% of our report card last year being based on achievement to 35.9. That means our Title I or socioeconomic status went down. And so we're rated more on achievement and less on growth this year, but really target group outcomes reflects 25% and on-track graduation reflects 25%. So what we have to be proud of, our quick snapshot, is you can see the table below reflects the 4 categories and where we rank in percentile to other districts across the state of Wisconsin. In the area of achievement, we rank in the top 4% of districts in the state of Wisconsin at 96.1%. That's an increase from last year's of 94.5. In the area of growth, we dropped to 91.1, so still falling in the top 9% of districts in the state. Target growth, 10%. We're in the top 10% of districts in the state. That fell 5% from the previous year. And then on-track graduation, we saw an increase at nearly the top 1 percentile of districts, and we'll talk about where that reflects. The area of growth and target group growth is really that reflection of students and how they're progressing through our system, which we'll talk about what we're working on. So as a point of pride in the area of achievement, you can see down below, they break that into English, language arts, and math. There's 8 categories or groups listed. Those are the subgroups or populations that we have 20 or more students in that they can reflect the growth and achievement from year to year. And in 6 of those 8 groups, our achievement increased in those groups across our district, which is a huge celebration in both ELA and math. We had 2 subgroups that went down. So those are subgroups that we're starting to look at and digging into that data. However, as a point of pride, our achievement increased. And so typically when we see achievement increase, we see the whole system increase, but we'll talk more about that bottom quartile in a little bit. Another point of achievement, this report card is not based on just last year's report card, it's based on the previous 3 report cards, and you can see the 3-year trend back to 2020, 2021. We're seeing more students fall in that bright blue on the bottom, which is advanced. So the highest level of achievement on the forward score, we saw our highest level in ELA, but 19.3% of our student population in grades 3 through 8 is advanced. And then the area of mathematics, 20.5, our highest percentage of students is advanced in mathematics. Another point of pride is on-track graduation. On-track graduation is based on 4 categories: chronic absenteeism, graduation, 3rd grade ELA, and 8th grade mathematics. This is the category that we rank in the top 1 percentile in the state of Wisconsin. You can see that's reflective of even a drop in our overall absenteeism or chronic absenteeism, but you can also see that in the 2022-23 column, those columns are listed as red, because that's a decline for us. It was also a significant decline for the state of Wisconsin as a whole. Our graduation rate, we saw an increase, so did the state, but we're at 99.2 within the score of graduation. A huge celebration for us is our 3rd grade ELA score at 89.0, with the state being 56.8. You're going to hear that 3rd grade ELA talked a lot about tonight within a presentation I have later tonight, but really a reflection of really high achievement for our 3rd grade students in the area of advanced or proficient on 3rd grade reading. 8th grade mathematics, we also saw a significant increase. Algebra readiness is an indicator towards college, career, and life readiness, and so that's measured towards graduation. All 4 of these put us in the top 1% of districts in the state. Areas of action is, again, growth. So what the district will look at, or what DPI will look at, is all of our students and how they scored last year, and are all of those students growing. And so as you heard me talk about the 20% of our students being advanced, they have to continue to be advanced and continue to grow year after year after year. And so growth is important, and you can see in both English, language arts, and math, we are a value-added district. That's what that visual shows on the right. Is anything above a 3.0 says that we're giving value to students being in Grafton in both ELA and math, and in every subgroup, in every category, free and reduced, title, students with disabilities, students without disabilities, we're adding value within the area of growth. However, we did still see that score go down as a district. The other area is the target group, and this slide actually breaks down the ELA target group, which would be the students in the bottom quartile from the year before, and then the non-target group, our top 3 quartiles. And you can see in achievement, 3 out of the 4 areas we saw improvement. However, in the area of growth, we were consistent and maintained in both ELA and math for the non-target group, but our students that were the lowest 25 percentile did not grow. And that's where we saw our biggest loss in points as a system. We also saw a drop in chronic absenteeism, so more students having more absences. Our graduation, you can see our non-target group, our top 3 quartiles increased, and then our target group, we actually saw a slight decline. What this reflects is also our Vision 2030. We set goals on 4 of these areas. District report card, we are in the top 4%. Our goal is to be at that 95th percentile, so we are in the dark green, on track within Vision 2030. The second one, top 5% in growth score, we're in the top 9%, so it's that medium green, on track towards 95%. District report card, top 5 on target group outcomes, the area that we're working the most on, thinking about intervention, thinking about how we're using our after-school tutoring to help support those students. District report card, on-track graduation, we're in the top 1%. I'll quickly go through our schools. Not calling up principals, but principals had a lot of data to share with you a couple weeks ago, but I'll go through this just as an overview. Grafton High School exceeds expectation. They're 61st out of 428 high schools. This is a decline from last year, again, focused on that target group at the high school, and what we're doing with that will be the focus for this report card as we saw a drop in that area. From a success point, achievement went up at Grafton High School. We saw higher numbers of students in ELA and math growing. The score, the priority increased to 78.3, and this is higher than 92% of high schools in the state of Wisconsin. We also saw performance in both ELA and math exceed the state average by more than 20 points. Also, on-track graduation, something that our high school does a really nice job of as we graduate students and set them up for post-secondary experiences. You've heard us talk about that on our previous dashboard, as well as our current Vision 2030 of getting students opportunities, and we're preparing them. GHS graduation cohort rate of 99.2 exceeds the statewide rate of 91.7. John Long Middle School was 23rd out of 254. This is an increase in both their overall score as well as where they performed in the ranking of 254 middle schools in the state of Wisconsin, grades 6 through 8. You can see that they're on their way towards significantly exceeds expectations, with their goal being to get to 83. Overall, their score went from 79.8 to 81.1. Saw increases in the area of achievement as well as that on-track graduation. Kennedy Elementary School ranked 43rd out of 427 K4 through 5 buildings, and they significantly exceeds expectation. This is a growing trend for that building. They significantly exceeded expectations last year and had their highest score ever this year by 0.1, but it is still their highest score ever. So congratulations to Kennedy. This is really connected to achievement, and Dr. Gunderson, as well as Ms. Schwensen, focused on what that achievement looks like in both ELA and math. It's not just one subject. However, you can see that they're seeing growth in both ELA and math. Woodview, 18th out of 427, significantly exceeds expectation. This is their highest score in the last 7 years as well. You can see that slow trend up after 18-19. Questions about our school report card?
Questions for Michael? I have a couple. So one, now that we've had the data, do you have any information that would compare 5-8 buildings at the middle school compared to 6-8 buildings?
So in preparation for our meeting tomorrow with fifth grade, we started to look at that. And looking at averages of this year's report card numbers, when comparing a 5-8 middle school to a 6-8 middle school, on average in the state of Wisconsin, there's 65 5-8 middle schools. Those 5-8 middle schools outperform 6-8 middle schools in every category. From the overall score of the school report card by over 5 points, from achievement by over 8 points, average growth 5 points, target group 6 points, and on-track graduation 3 points. In thinking about that, we also started to then think, well, what would that do to our elementary schools? And we looked at a K4 setup versus a K5 setup. In a K4, there's 118 K4 buildings in the state, and there's 427 K5 elementaries in the state. And in every category, K4 schools outperform K5 schools on average. So we started to look at those data points and what that would do to our system. And on average, those K4 schools are outperforming K5 schools in achievement by almost 12 points. Overall school report card, a difference of 5 points. Growth, 1 point. Target group, 7 points. And on-track graduation, 4 points. So started to look at what that would do to our system. So yes, and seeing those indicators of success in other buildings on average.
And then just, did you say 65 5-8 schools?
Correct.
in the state? Okay.
65 with data on a school report card. Some 5-8 schools might have no data or alternate assessments, but yes.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. And then the second question that I have, so obviously the target group was a big discussion. So I guess what specific things are we going to do as a district for that target group to make sure that they're progressing as we're expecting them to, or is that they should be for, year to year?
Yeah, Chris Weiss and Scott Manti did an outstanding job at curriculum kind of talking through the things that we had in place last year. At the middle school, for example, we had iReady as that differentiated instruction tool that we were learning about last year. We were using it, and we found out that our students could put the time and energy and minutes in, but were they passing lessons and were they improving their own individualized lessons in ELA and math? And so we're focusing on what we're doing with iReady at the middle school, asking students to pass lessons, not just put in time. We're also back with year 2 of tutoring at the middle school, and we made recommendations for students to come to after-school tutoring at the middle school based on iReady, as well as that target group, that they could get that extra boost of after-school tutoring. At our high school, we're digging into pre-ACT. We gave our students a practice ACT in the fall, and Kim Yunker, Rick Seibel did an outstanding job of getting teachers data to reflect on what are those skills and or subject or standards that our students are struggling with, and targeting those students. We're starting to look at how we can use study hall and support students in study hall with usage of individualized instruction at the high school as well. So we hit the ground running, and Scott and Chris did an outstanding job of presenting 2 weeks ago on that, but we've taken that data and we're running with it on a couple different topics. And then also just allowing our PLC leaders and our teacher teams to work through where there are gaps in the curriculum and where we need to add areas that were possibly missing in previous years for not just our bottom quartile, but all students.
And the data that we have does allow us to understand exactly who those students are and to make sure that we're working with them, correct?
Absolutely. And teachers now at our most recent November 13th PD day found out who those students are in their classrooms and found out, you know, even if they're in an honors course, they may have been in the bottom quartile based on that test they took last year. So teachers are now aware and are working through test strategies as well as specific topics that students can work on.
Any other questions for Michael? If you just get a chance, can you share that data on the 5.8 and 6.8 with just the boards that we have all of that information?
Yep.
Okay, thank you for that. I don't know if there's any other questions. Okay, so I don't think there's anything for us to go on with that. So the second would be the curriculum cycle and PD updates.
Yeah, we briefly went through curriculum updates, really heavy lifting in K-8 ELA. You heard me present some new resources for 6-8, but our K-8 ELA adoption really took 2 years. So we're in phases 3, 4, or the implementation page on implementation phase in reading. And then we're just starting some new cycles this year. So we're in cycle 1, the study research on 5 different areas of curriculum this year. So just as a quick update, our counseling team is looking at our life skills, our second step resource, and bringing that back to a discussion this spring. CTE 612 is doing a review of the new standards that will be introduced in February. Our K-12 art team is looking at those standards and reviewing what are our power standards for K-12 art. 4K through 5th grade math is looking at Bridges and how successful that's been in moving from 2.0 to Bridges 3.0. That won't occur until spring of 2025, but we're starting to look at those things now. And then 912 science is looking at AP chemistry, biology, and Zobot licenses on some of those textbooks.
Okay.
Overall, it was a really great meeting. It was good to hear, even if the curriculum updates, implementation of all the stuff we worked so hard, the staff has been working so hard on last year with the Writable and Studies Weekly and all of that hard work that they researched and put in and how it's being implemented this year. I'm looking forward to the progress that we'll see next year. Great job and a lot of hard work, and I appreciate all the principals coming in and presenting their successes, and we could all celebrate is also where their pride is and where they're going to work and improve and make it even better, so that the continued goals for improvement. So, very productive meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we will go to agenda item E for policy committee, as we have a slew of things to go through.
So yes, policy committee met 2 weeks ago on the 13th of November. We reviewed almost 50 policies in total, many of which are coming to the full board tonight. The first group is a set of revised policies. There are 32 of them that we went through. These are revisions that can have a first read and approval here tonight because they're just revisions.
Okay.
You don't want me to go through them all?
So yeah, so those would have been existing policies, correct, that there'd just been some change that the
Yep.
committee would have reviewed, had no questions to go back to Neola with, and approve those. So with that, we would look, for a motion for a first read and approval of the revised policies that we updated for, I guess I got it, reference 32.2.
32.2.
So do we have a motion for the approval of the first reading of those policies?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and those revised pass. Item number 2.
Okay, now we have a group of policies looking for approval for deletion. There are 5 of them. There are additional 5 that'll be coming back pending approval of the new policies in the next group. But these 5 can be removed or deleted currently.
And these are being able to be removed and deleted because of the approval of the ones we just did.
The revised.
Okay. All right. So, do I need to list each of those, Kara, or can we just do them as one?
You can just say.
Okay. So if Is there a motion to approve the deletion of the policies as presented in the agenda, item E 4.2?
So moved.
Second.
Any additional discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and those are now deleted. And then item number 3.
Yeah, so item number 3 is a set of new policies. There are 6 of them that the policy committee reviewed, had some questions, we've gotten all the feedback, I believe, that we need. So we are good on a first read. So this is coming to the full board for a first read, and then next month we could approve them.
So no motion on those. I don't know if anyone has any questions. These were approved at the policy committee. And then we would look for a motion for approval at the next meeting, and then that will have us delete a few more.
Yep.
Okay. So any questions tonight on these policies? Otherwise, we can certainly discuss again in December. Okay. All right. Item number F, personnel report.
Yes, we have no personnel for approval, but we do have 2 informational ones. One, resignation of Bill Foster, custodian at Grafton High School, and new hire of Maggie Nelson, special education aide at Kennedy Elementary School. So informational only with those.
Are we committed staff then with any other positions that we might have?
We do have, I know, with replacing Bill Foster, interviews for that on Friday.
We're waiting on- Otherwise, we are. We're still looking for a building sub at Woodview.
Oh, if they have one.
I keep putting the plug out there. But otherwise, we are, yes.
Any questions, or anybody know a building sub?
How
Okay.
long, one quick question, how long was Bill Foster a member of the GHS custodian staff? Jamie, years?
2?
2 years?
2 years.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Item number G, data reports. Michael's back.
I'm back. I'm excited about this one. Not that I wasn't before, but this is really kind of a reflection of that area of achievement. Each year, we bring to the board information on forward data, iReady data, ACT data, and AP data. Some of this data you saw this summer at your board retreat, but this has now been finalized and became public information in October. So we bring forward that data to share with you because now we can see our information as well as state and other districts. So from the forward perspective, the forward exam again is given in 3rd through 8th grade in the area of ELA and math. And then in 4th and 8th grade, we give science and social studies. But as a system, we saw really great success in a number of content areas as well as grade levels. Our 3rd grade ELA at 76.9% of those students are advanced or proficient. That number is the highest in Ozaki County, and we'll show you in a couple slides, actually doubles the state average. We've talked a lot about 3rd grade ELA and the importance of students being able to read at level by 3rd grade as an indicator for future success. And to see that number is a huge celebration of our K-2 system leading into 3rd grade, and what work our 3rd grade teachers did last year is a monster number. And then that same group of kids, not to be outdone, had the highest math percentage in 3rd grade. 80% of those students are advanced or proficient in the area of math. Monster numbers in both 3rd grade ELA and math. 4th grade had their highest ELA number ever, as well as 8th grade had their highest ELA score ever of advanced or proficient. So as you think about those students, those are our freshmen, those are our 4th graders, and those are our 5th graders this year. In the area of math, 5th, 6th, and 8th had their highest percentage of students advanced or proficient. So as you think about a system, we also share that data comparing ours to the state. So as a system, 3rd through 8th, we look at the amount of students that are advanced or proficient. We've seen this steady increase in the area of ELA, so we had the highest percentage of advanced or proficient students ever at 64.3 of all 3rd through 8th in ELA. We outperformed the state by 25.1%. In the area of mathematics, 67.2% of our 3rd through 8th grade students are advanced or proficient, outperforming the state by 26.1. You can see that trajectory. Blue is Grafton, red is the state. You can see in the area of ELA prior to 2020, that year that we didn't get to take the test, we saw a slow decline in ELA, and since then we've seen a steady increase in the area of ELA, with 64.3 last year being our highest ever. You can see the state has rebounded as well. Area of mathematics, we've been on this steady increase for the last 7 years, 17, 18, 19, on a growth trajectory with the missing 2020. And then we saw the steady increase after returning from COVID, with 67.2 being our highest number ever. Speaking of third grade, again, I can't reiterate how impressive this number is. This is that number in math. 80% of our current fourth grade students are advanced or proficient. When we talk about growth, we have to stay on top. So 80% of those students as fourth graders also need to be advanced or proficient for our growth score to continue to go up. So our fourth grade teachers are working with that group. And we have to change the curriculum. We have to change how we push students if they're coming more prepared. And this is that third grade number, 76.9. You can see previous numbers. We had seen a decline since COVID of 49.3, 57.8, and 76.9, doubles the state, which we've never seen that. So really impactful numbers as we see moving through our system. What this also means is the state passed a new law, Wisconsin Act 20, that will ask us to share this data differently in future years. So in 2025, state law will require me to bring forward data on who is not proficient, who is not advanced, and specifically who is below basic, and then what we are doing with those students. It also will ask me to give you the number of students at risk based on foundational skills, number of at risk based on our universal screener. We're currently using iReady, and we actually have this data for you tonight. So we're not going to wait till 2025. I'm going to give you a quick glimpse tonight. So in 5K iReady, you see the triangle on the left, yellow and green. Yellow meaning students that are early grade level, green being students that are on grade level. So currently in kindergarten, we had no students that flagged in the fall as being at risk for phonological awareness, phonics, or high frequency words. So no red in kindergarten, which is an indication that in 2025, I will tell you that none of our students in kindergarten flagged as early screening in the area of reading. First grade, we saw an increase. So at Kennedy, 2% of our students, 2% of those 66 students were a flag on our screener, and 6% at Woodview. What that is an indication of is we need to do a little bit more testing to see what are their areas of concern. Is it phonics? Is it high frequency words? Is it vocabulary? And what can we do to support those students? And then we provide intervention and supports through Title I. And or at Kennedy, we also have a reading interventionist. Second grade, that number ticks up a little bit more. So you can see of the 83 students at Kennedy, 13% of those students were a red flag or multiple grade levels behind, either 1 or 2 grade levels behind. That's an indication of additional screening that needs to occur. And then 11% of our 81 students at Woodview. So this is the type of data that we'll start to bring for you tied to Wisconsin Act 20. Before I move on with other grade levels, any questions about that?
Has the state changed anything in how they evaluate? You know, like the state report card seems to change all the time. Have they changed anything, say, since COVID on how they evaluate? Or is it just, I assume the test changes a little bit?
So each year they prioritize different standards, and so we're lucky to have Rick. So he actually is the guy in the state that digs down to all the standards that are taught at every grade level, and then we analyze what those standards are. And so how did our students do previous years? What should we be doing to change our resource to support those students? And so in a way, that target changes each year. The state standards are vast. We teach them all. We prioritize the ones that we have to focus on based on how our students score on this. But the standards are changing, and Rick has found a way for us to identify which ones our students struggled with and which ones our students are doing well with. And now all 420 districts ask Rick for that data for them too. So we're lucky to have them, and we start looking at that data right away. And we had that on June 24th this year. So we spent this summer to do that. Good question. Fourth grade, math proficiency, we saw a slight decline. So this, as you think about growth, that group of students, did they grow from third to fourth? We need to target who those students were. And so a little dip in fourth grade math proficiency. However, that group of students had the highest ever group of proficiency advanced in fourth grade ELA. So that's a celebration in our system as our students are growing, being more likely to be successful in later grade levels in ELA reading, writing, grammar. And then our math proficiency, we sent John Long, this year's sixth grade is our highest achieving math students on the Ford exam, with 76% of those students advanced or proficient. Fifth grade reading, we saw that dip. Using CKLA and Amplify, we do believe that background knowledge and some of the grammar and writing skills that's taught through our new resource will help our upper grade levels to see more consistency. You can see some up and down dips with fifth grade reading. John Long, sixth grade reading, we flip it. We start with reading in middle school. Second highest sixth grade reading score we've ever seen. 59.3% of our students advanced or proficient in sixth grade ELA. We also saw our highest sixth grade math score at 66.7% of our students in math in sixth grade advanced or proficient in math. Seventh grade reading proficiency, this group has been a group that we've watched. They left they left fifth grade really high achieving and have dropped in sixth and seventh. But this group, really watching the student through other assessments you give, like iReady, to see where we can push them. And this is a group that's responded well with iReady this year as eighth graders. You can see their math proficiency. This is a dip of the seventh grade group. Eighth grade group, this is this year's freshmen. Our highest ever score in the area of reading at 68% of those students advanced or proficient. So this is this year's freshmen. And our highest ever group of eighth grade math advanced or proficiency, this year's freshmen. Questions about our forward data and how we look as a system? Really connects to that achievement success that we're seeing on the report cards. The state releases forward data in October, and then the report card data in November, really highly connected. So we like to bring forward and share certainly our celebrations. And I'll invite Mr. Manti up to talk a little bit about ACT and AP. ACT data you were able to see a little bit at our summer retreat, but this is a little bit more specific and holistic.
Good evening, everyone. I'm just here to give Michael a break for a couple of minutes. He needs that. So they selected me for this part of it. So I'm excited to talk to you a little bit about our ACT and AP performance in a similar format than we've done this over the course of the years with the board. One of the things to start out with is what is new for 2023 in terms of what we're doing here with GHS and the ACT. Obviously, we are aligning all of our progress to Vision 2030, and ACT is a big part of that. We will have an all-school testing day in the spring that we're going to implement, where we're going to have not only our ACT, but our pre-ACT secure take place at March 19th within our building. It will mirror our fall all-school testing day that we provided a practice ACT and also a pre-ACT assessment for all of our students in the fall to check their progress at that point within the fall of this year. So that will be a new part of our testing process that we will be implementing in the spring. In addition to that, our item analysis of the practice ACT. You've heard a lot about some of the data that have been provided to our teachers in concert with Rick and Kim Junker, but all of our teachers were able to receive an item-by-item breakdown and analysis of every question on every subject area with every student on the practice ACT, broken down and organized by each of their classes within their classroom, and that was for our 11th grade students. We did the same thing for our 9th and 10th grade students with our pre-ACT information as well. So when you talk about, what are we doing as a result with increasing achievement, looking at improvement with school report card, those are all things that are taking place already at this time. And then Michael talked a lot about target group outcomes tonight. That was an area for growth within Grafton High School school report card. And we're already looking at identifying our target group for all of our teachers and letting our teachers know what their data and what that information looks like with all of our students, the very same way we did the item analysis with our practice ACT. So all those things are already occurring as a result of the recent release of data and information within the school report card. So important to share with the board. The next slide you'll see are the results from the graduating class of 2024. So they're not graduated yet, but our graduating class of 2024. And this was from their junior statewide assessment day only. So this was last year in the spring. So this is great information to look at. You can take a look across the board when you look at subject area tests on the ACT of English, math, reading, and science. Then you take a look below at what the state scores are. You can see that there is a strong positive difference between Grafton High School and the state in all of those areas in particular. So when you look at English, we're 3.6 points above the state, math 3.1, reading 2.8, science 2.7. That equates to a full 3 points of a composite score above the state average. So really, really proud of the work that our students are doing, the work that our teachers are doing to prepare our students with that. So that was last year's junior class, which will be this year's graduating class of 2024. So important to show that, and that's great information to celebrate with all of you. The next slide that you're going to see is the ACT graduate report, and this was from the class of 2023. So this is last year's graduating class, and this is the information you're going to see as far as their junior testing day, and then their overall graduate report that we receive in October. So when you take a look at their scores across the board, you see that there's not much movement between their testing date as juniors and then all the way through those additional retests for our students. Now, you may assume that, are we seeing, fewer students retest? Are they not being successful when they retest? So I dug in to pull some additional information for you based on this. Number one, our composite increase last year of the class of 2022 was 0.1 difference from junior year to graduated. So it was 0.1. It's even this year. In this one, we had 39 students retake. So it's approximately 25% of the class. So 1/4 of the class performed a retake or took the ACT again. 25 of those students increased. 6 stayed the same. So 31 out of 39 either increased or stayed the same. Only 8 saw a reduction. So when you look at that mathematically, you might think, well, it doesn't make sense necessarily that our composite didn't increase. On the graduate report, we have 160 students included on the graduate report. On the junior report, we have 155 students that the state reports to us. The state only reports full academic year students as it relates to being within Grafton School District and Grafton High School. So therefore, we have a number of students who are not full academic year students who certainly can impact an overall score and, kind of look at potentially monitoring that increase that could have occurred from the 25 students increasing their score. So there's 5 students in difference with that, and that's what we looked at as far as, why we're more close to even than we are with increasing. But 25 out of the 39 and 31 out of the 39 either increased or stayed the same with that score. So that was important information to share with you
Question
as well.
Question on the retakes, is the 39, is that a lower number than what you've seen in the past as far as retakes?
Yeah, so we have fewer, about a fourth, right? So we've seen more in the past, and certainly, we can theorize, why that is. Certainly with test optional reporting, for college admission. For some students, there's a strong drive to continue to retake. We want our students to reassess and improve to the best of their ability, but some students just aren't submitting their scores when they are applying to colleges, which does not provide them with necessarily that hunger to retake that after they take the state test in March. So that is a factor.
And we'd have no data on how many students actually do test optional versus we wouldn't have that information.
You know what, we don't have that yet, but certainly something that we can monitor as far as, our students as they apply to see, how many are submitting and how many are not. So something that we absolutely could monitor for you as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. The second part of my presentation is surrounding our advanced placement program here at Grafton High School. Share this in the same format for you that I've shared the last number of years. Just a quick reminder for the board and for anybody in attendance, our advanced placement program offers college level courses and exams that students can take while they are in high school. They provide students with advantages including earning college credit while at GHS, the possibility of earning advanced standing so they could skip intro courses at college, save money and time, and then also standing out to colleges when it comes to what your transcript looks like when you're applying for colleges as well. So that is a little bit of a background on advanced placement overall. Taking a look here over the course of time, gave you a nice longitudinal aspect of our program. One of the couple of things to point out is we have 291 total AP students. So when you look across the board, we're well within the range. We had our high of 305 students in 2020. But we're well within that range of that number of students that we've had as far as our students taking advanced placement courses. We've given 592 exams to the class of 2023. And we have 223 students with a score of 3+. So even though we had fewer exams, you take a look at our number of students who are scoring 3+, and then in addition to that, the bottom number with our total percentage of a 3 or better, which is a passing score on the AP exam, it's almost 77% of our students. So we're seeing great performance overall, and we're seeing a consistent number of students within our advanced placement program, and even a higher number scoring well when it comes to the students 3+. What the 592 numbers mean is not that we have fewer students taking AP, it's we have fewer students taking a higher number of AP exams. So that's the key component, is there are not fewer students in the program, but maybe instead of me taking 6 in my career, I'm taking 4, or 6, I'm taking 5. So that's where you're seeing as far as that's concerned. And you tie this to our post-secondary goal as a district. We have lots of kids pursuing lots of different post-secondary options, not just advanced placement. Advanced placement's only one way for students to achieve that post-secondary goal. So lots of great things happening with that. And then you saw tonight our addition of AP Pre-Calculus, and we will have a number of students taking AP Pre-Calculus as well next year. AP Scholars, very consistent number, super proud of this. About 100 of our students are listed as AP Scholars. The College Board has AP Scholar, Honors, Distinction. All of that has to do with how many AP tests that you've taken passed in your particular score. I've linked that certainly above to talk about the details of those individual student honors. We don't need to go through that here tonight. AP Capstone Awards. The board had graciously approved our AP Capstone program, which was AP Seminar and AP Research. We had 6 students complete the entire AP Capstone diploma process, which is completing AP Sem, AP Research, and then 4 additional AP exams throughout high school, earning a score of 3 or higher. So the AP Capstone Awards essentially had replaced the National AP Scholar, which if you recall me saying the last couple of years, College Board removed that National AP Scholar Award because of students driven to take what they thought were too many advanced placement courses, not being necessarily great for their mental health. So the College Board made that decision and replaced it with the AP Capstone program. The last thing I have to share with you tonight is my one new piece of information for you about AP. AP introduced a new recognition program for schools this year. Just released it based on our data, so October 2023. The qualifying criteria, there are 3 major points here. They call it college culture, college credit, and college optimization. So if you want to be recognized in this program, you must have at least 40% or more of the graduating cohorts. So this is graduating class information, which took at least 1 AP exam during high school. For college credit, at least 25% or more of the graduating cohort scoring a 3 or higher on at least 1 AP exam during high school. And then those who optimize this program as well, at least 2% or more of the graduating cohort taking 5 or more AP exams during high school, and then at least 1 in 9th and 10th grade. So once again, they're encouraging you spreading out taking your AP exams, not taking them too many as you're in one school year. Okay? And your award range is bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. So for the first time, we were placed in the silver category, so we earned silver recognition with access. I'll talk to you about that access piece in a minute. But this is just a really one simple picture for you to take a look at this. With our numbers on the right, you can see with GHS, we were in the gold category for credit, the platinum category for optimization, and we were in the silver category for college culture with 61% of our graduating class there, when gold is 65%. So you have to be in gold or better in all three of the categories to earn gold, platinum in all three of the categories to earn platinum. So you can see how close we are to that gold recognition. And this can provide our school counseling team and our AP program teachers to really take a look at for the number of students and percentage of students that we would like to have taken AP class in their time at Grafton High School, to look at that overall college culture piece of that 65% to earn gold. So this is new, so that we didn't know where we would rank or what this would look like. So we're certainly proud of that. Then the last piece to this is the Access Award. And the Access component of this simply indicates that the students who we have in our AP program taking these AP tests, and this is the senior class that just graduated, the demographics mirror the demographics of our school. So it indicates that we are including underrepresented populations in terms of our AP program and taking these exams, such as our minority population, our low-income population. Those are things that were included within this for us earning this access component. So it indicates that our students taking these tests are a mirror of what our demographics look like. So that's the access component of that award. And that's the new component this year. But any questions at all on advanced placement?
Questions for Scott? No? Good information, and you had a chance to share this of the curriculum as well, and certainly a lot of successes and celebrations.
Yep, we are super proud. Thank you so much. Now Michael's voice should be rested. He's back in action.
That's all we really have from a data perspective. Really proud of our system, forward, iReady, ACT, AP, moving all in the right direction. So thanks for the time to present this evening.
Thank you. All right. Letter I, Gentleness Expansion Project.
Wait, H.
Oh, sorry. One off. I suppose that's an important one. Let's do the support staff compensation first.
Yes.
Sorry.
Good time, that'll get time for the clicker to get back here anyway. Thank you. Yes, so we're bringing forward a recommendation for support staff increases, compensation increases for 2023-24. As a reminder, last November, the board approved compensation increases for instructional aides and paraprofessionals for 2023-24, and then implemented them last December, more than half a year ahead of time. And so those staff received that increase last school year for this school year. Now we bring forward support staff compensation increases, primarily made up of office staff, tech staff, and custodial staff. And we're bringing forward a recommendation of a 4.32% increase, which is in the budget. Both the wage increases and the benefit increases associated with those payroll benefits come to $61,000 roughly, and that was included in the budget that was passed in October. So any questions? We're looking for approval of those increases tonight.
Questions for Topher? This is the number that we've seen and budgeting for. Okay. All right, seeing none, I will look for a motion to approve a 4.32% increase to staff, support staff compensation retroactive to July 1st. Do we have a motion for that approval?
So moved.
Second. We have a first, and we have a second. Any additional discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, and that passes. Thank you. All right. So now let's go to I, the JLMS building manager.
Yeah, so excited to give you an update on where we are. Before I get into taking a look at the design, just a little bit of a review of what has occurred, some of the information that's been presented for over the past year, as well as what has occurred since the board recommended moving forward with looking at John Long Middle School expansion. Well over a year ago, we were looking at data related to how we had been declining enrollment for well over a decade, that there hadn't been many housing starts, and that led into the referendum where we did not increase our footprint due to the fact that we were declining enrollment, didn't want to build empty classrooms, and increase the cost of the referendum for those empty classrooms. After the referendum, as we've looked at numerous times, we saw our enrollment decline over the following 4 years by over 150 students. But that has, starting in 2021-22, that declining enrollment trend reversed due to housing starts in the village increasing significantly. Administration was directed in the fall of 2022 to explore options to address our increasing enrollment. Two primary options were examined, one being to expand the 2 elementary schools to handle the increased enrollment and the bubble classes that were looming and were actually already in our buildings, as well as the other option, expanding John Long Middle School to accommodate 5th grade. Now, presentations were made at numerous finance committee and board meetings since last May. Growth Design, and we have Rob from Growth here and CG Schmidt. We have Ryan in blue in the back row from CG Schmidt. We're involved early in the process for looking at preliminary designs and cost estimates. After going through all these numerous meetings, administration was directed at the October board meeting to pursue the John Long Middle School expansion and bringing 5th grade up to the middle school. Since that meeting, we've been gathering feedback leading up to tonight with meetings, as Jeff mentioned earlier, meetings with the 5th grade staff, site visits to high-performing 5-8 buildings, meetings with our elementary PTGs. We've toured facilities with construction and design consultants and met with various department and building leaders to further update our design to meet our needs. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at our essentially our schematic preliminary design as it sits now and go through a process to ensure that this design does meet our needs, what we need in order to bring 5th grade up to the middle school. So this is what current preliminary design, conceptual design looks like right now, with an expansion of 8 classrooms to the southeast portion of the building. I'll also point out that our cafeteria needs to be expanded. Now that will eliminate the science room that is to the east of the cafeteria. So we do we do some remodeling of 2 classrooms to create a new science room. That is shown here. On the left is how John Long Middle School currently looks. Again, in the middle there, just north of the library, you'll see the cafeteria and serving area. Just to the right of the cafeteria, you'll see the science lab. So on the right side of this slide, you'll see that the cafeteria then takes up that entire space. That science room needs to be replaced. In this example, we show those 2 special ed rooms that currently exist on that left side of this slide being remodeled into a science room to replace the one we lose when expanding the cafeteria. So we're going to take a look at classrooms that we need, and we'll start with the core instruction spaces. So at 5th grade, if we stayed with a traditional model, and it hasn't been decided exactly what that will look like for 5th graders moving up to the middle school, but if we would stay with a traditional elementary model, we would need potentially 7 classrooms. Typically, we'd need 6, but there could be a bubble classroom in any given year. In particular, that 2nd grade group would be a potential bubble classroom when it moved up to the middle school, should it stay with that traditional sort of self-contained model. At 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, each of those grades would need, as it does now, 2 ELA classrooms, 2 math classrooms, 1 science, and 1 social studies. Now, those rooms are used for 3 out of 4 blocks per day, which means that if you did have a bubble group, a 7th section, you would need one of those rooms to be used 4 out of 4 blocks every other day. So we wouldn't need additional space. We'd certainly need to either have additional FTE, or we'd need to have some overloads, but we wouldn't need an additional room for them. So how would that look like assigning spaces? And again, these room assignments are not, they're only for demonstration purposes to make sure, do we have enough space? This is not a decision on where they're going. Just want to point that out. So we would potentially add the 5th grade classrooms potentially to the new spaces, the new construction area. Again, 6 would typically be needed, but there would be room here for a bubble classroom. 6th grade could potentially go on that south side near the new construction area with that science room, or again, potentially it could be moved toward the central part of the building, again, that science room being on the north side. 7th grade could be down on that south side of the building near the new construction area, and then 8th grade could be in that northeast corner with that, potentially that science room that would be a remodeling of existing space over just north of the administrative offices. We also need space, of course, for our related arts on our elective spaces. So related arts with Phi-Ed, with the music, band, choir program, and art. We have existing spaces for our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Those spaces that we have right now could accommodate bringing 5th grade up to the middle school. STEM is offered, is taken by 6th, 7th, and 8th graders as an elective in 7th and 8th grade. Not saying that 5th grade would have STEM, but if STEM were to be offered or be part of the 5th grade rotation, we do have space within our STEM facilities to handle that. Now, our business, same thing. We dedicate 1 classroom to business. There'd be enough room, if you will, in the schedule for 5th grade to be incorporated into business. And then language right now is just 7th and 8th grade. We need 2 Spanish classrooms. Now, we don't have 2 full Spanish classrooms all day, but we do have parts of the day where 2 Spanish classes are being instructed at the same time. And then for German, we would have 1. This is what that would look like. So the STEM, the Phi-Ed, the music, and art spaces, that's where they are currently now. That would remain. We have those areas. Then we would have potentially up on near STEM, G for German, on the south part near the music, band, choir, 2 rooms for Spanish, and then you see a B for business near the new construction area. Again, this isn't necessarily where they would be for certain. You could swap out the German and the business, but we need 4 classrooms for this. Knowing, of course, that those Spanish rooms do have some ability to absorb health instruction and other pieces as well. But we need those 4 classrooms for those particular electives. Then we have need for additional instructional spaces. So our speech, intervention, DHH, ELL, instructional coaches, they will work with small groups of students, right? 1 or 2 students typically. So we ideally would need space, rooms that are 125 to 200 square feet so they can work with these students. 4 to 5 spaces potentially. Now, we also have a library media center, currently 3,400 square feet. That could be reduced to 3,000 square feet or even 2,300 square feet through remodeling and repurposing so that we have these small group instructional spaces for those teachers in that top category. And we also have cross-cat teachers in our special ed department that would be working with small groups of students, 3, 4, 5, potentially 6 students, and potentially 6 teachers if we were to move 5th grade up to the middle school. So we'd need those breakout spaces of roughly 250 to 400 square feet. Again, likely 6 would be needed. And then we also have our existing ID and PT/OT spaces that currently exist in our building. So where would those potentially go? So the LMC and breakout rooms, that currently is all LMC. An example of some remodeling that could occur to accommodate those small group instructional spaces, potentially 4 of those spaces built in the library, potentially 5 up along the side there. That's potential remodeling that we could do to repurpose some existing space. Then you have the existing ID and PT/OT spaces up near the 8th grade where it's marked for 8th grade. As a reminder, we are adding a restroom area for in particular, our ID population up in that area. That'll take place this summer. Then a few spaces marked for special ed, right? So those 3 areas that are marked out for special ed total about 2,800 square feet. So that would be certainly enough area, if remodeled, enough to accommodate 6 small group instructional areas. We don't have, and so I'll move on from those additional instructional spaces to some other areas that we do need to have called out in our building. Currently existing administration area, we would need a teacher workroom and teacher lounge, an area for our robotics and Lego League equipment and pieces there. Of course, our cafeteria, now expanded, it would be 5,700 square feet and a 900 square foot servery. We would add an additional restroom area, set of restrooms that would get us up to 4 in addition to what is in the cafeteria. And then the locker rooms, we have, of course, a set of locker rooms, no need for additional locker room space. So where some of those pieces would be, you see administration where it is now. Restrooms are marked out with RRs. You see the cafeteria and the servery piece up in the expanded cafeteria area. You'll also see an R for robotics up on the north side of the building near what's marked out as 6th grade. Then you'll see a teacher workroom marked in W up to the north of the cafeteria and servery. L for lounge, the teacher lounge, not that far from the new construction area. So these spaces are taken care of. There is a room that isn't allocated at this point, so still room for flexibility for other potential needs. Now, obviously, we'll be continuing to work through design and looking at how those potential remodeling helps us use existing space in the most efficient way possible, and how that would potentially impact how much additional space we would be adding on with new construction. In addition, we have to consider our outdoor spaces. As you know, the addition does impact existing parking. So we do have 2 spaces, one just to the south and one to the east of the building. We would do a redesign of the parking lot that would maintain the current 117 spaces in this preliminary design. And we do need to consider a recess area that would include play equipment for 5th grade. So just an example of what the parking spaces might look like. So you can see the impact loss of parking spots to the east of the building. There would be the addition of parking to the south by adding an additional row. Right now there's just that 1 row. We'd have 2 rows of parking to the south of the building, and this would maintain our current bus drop-off and pick up to the south of the building, as well as parent pickup, drop-off to the north side of the building. Now, next steps, will continue to refine the design of remodeling spaces, of new construction spaces, and the budget, working with Baird to determine the tax impact of the financing. We would bring those refined and reviewed and updated designs to the Finance Committee at the December 11th Finance Committee meeting, reviewing cost estimates, tax impacts, looking to get finance to recommend a referendum question to the full board on December 18th, where those designs would be reviewed, cost estimates, tax impacts would be put together, looking for an approved referendum question for inclusion on the April 2nd, 2024 ballot. A lot of information there. Any questions on information that was presented tonight?
The size of the classrooms that would be for the fifth grade edition, I mean, are those larger, comparable to what is currently at the elementaries right now, if they would stay in the model of staying in their classes?
Right now, they would be at least as large, and again, we're going to refine those sizes. So what we have representative is at least as large as what they have now.
Did we use any of the data that we gathered from some of these site visits on other schools that were successful with the 6-8 model as far as geographic layout of classrooms and different grade levels? Is that incorporated into this? I saw 3 or 4 different options as to where 6th, 7th, 8th grade, and 5th grade lays. Did that coincide with anything that we saw in those site visits as far as what was successful or the social, economic, or social differentiation between the grades?
In terms of where 6, 7, and 8 are. Yeah, I do like to say that this is just an example. This is not,
Right.
This is just, do we have enough spaces for them? How it actually plays out and what we think is best as a board, as administration, may play out completely differently. This was purely an exercise of, do we have enough classrooms and instructional space, knowing, in 8th grade, you need 2 ELA, 2 math, and social studies and a science. Maybe that 8th grade science won't be sitting there. Maybe we'll remodel a couple of other extra spaces and have that be closer to 8th grade. So this is purely an exercise of, do we have enough spaces? Where they go occurs later. That's why I've got that piece on the bottom. That way, if someone
Right.
prints this out and they hand it around, no one's wondering, oh, is that where I'm going?
I would say the site visits almost caused us to rethink what we were thinking. So when we first went there, there was a lot of discussions about well, the science classroom should be bigger because someone's going to specialize in science. Well, then we went on these site visits and they may or may not have had bigger science classrooms. Because if you make bigger science classrooms, that means something else becomes smaller. And so as we've worked with growth with C.C. Schmidt is this is the square footage, how that gets manipulated, how that gets maneuvered is they're giving us a rough number. So as we meet tomorrow morning with staff to talk about, okay, you went into this thinking one thing, now you've seen 2 different, you had your own thought process, because we used to specialize, we had 3 elementary schools. So we had people thinking maybe that's the way we're gonna go, and then you saw 2 other ways to do it. And so now as we come back together, what does that look like? And so then that does impact, the size of the rooms or how they're set up and you're collaborating, because it aligns really well. If you have 2 people and I have 25 kids and you have 25 kids and I teach them math and science and you teach them ELA and social studies, we're going to be right next to each other.
Right.
We're using that shared space. That logic loves this design. If there's a different logic, then that's what we'll adjust that. It's really looking at the square footage. Do we have enough rooms? Is there flexibility? So when bubbles come through, what does that look like? And that's why it's special ed doesn't need 950 square feet for 1 teacher with 5 students. But you need something as a placeholder, so there's some manipulating of those smaller spaces as Topher was talking about, and maximizing it so that we're being as efficient as possible and using taxpayer dollars as efficiently as we can as well.
Yeah, that's why you don't see 6 separate special ed full-size classrooms on there. we can use that space more efficiently.
So site visits were really good for us to maybe have preconceived notions and then see, okay, this is what it is. And that was our first one. I mean, there's plenty of
Yeah,
opportunities.
and I just wanted to make sure that that aligns with like the space that we needed, because that cost is gonna be associated to the square footage of these needs.
Yes.
That seems to have a tighter timeline than actually where they lay, but from a cost standpoint, that we are identifying what we probably will likely use it for, to the square footage required for that amount of space. Because it looks like the timeline really dictates a number sooner than where they actually lay.
Right. In both that we went and saw, both districts that we went and saw, they do have fifth grade separated from the rest of the building. So it is an area that they are together and shared and so forth, and both buildings really like that.
Thank you.
Because they even have an opportunity to not necessarily be on a middle school schedule per se, like there's some flexibility because you're in your own little area. Maybe your specials, you have to be on that bell because that intermingles with, when 6th, 7th, and 8th grade needs Phi-Ed, you have to fit at that time period. But some of those other pieces like we can now, you can sort of manipulate the time that you're spending on a content area. They could work together with that. Fifth grade teachers really like that.
Yeah.
And an additional comment on the finance, the cost and the financing of this piece. So we're looking at creating the right solution that allows us to bring fifth grade up to the middle school and accommodate increasing enrollment. So now it's very likely, it's very likely that much of the tax impact of financing the cost of this addition can be absorbed in our current levy structure. As a reminder, the referendum that was passed in 2017 was originally scheduled to be paid off in 2038. We've been able to accelerate that payoff, and it's now scheduled to be paid off in 2034. The financing of any sort of building project would not lengthen that debt payoff beyond 2034. That would still have to work within being paid off in 2034, like the debt would be paid off now. And much of it could be absorbed in our current debt structure without having much of a tax impact. But we aren't trying to fit a solution or design into having no tax impact. So we're not going to say, we really need this much space, but we can't have any tax impact at all, so let's shrink it and not make it be sufficient for what we need. We're also not going to expand it and make it bigger than what we need just to say, well, it still doesn't increase taxes. We're looking for the right solution, and whatever that tax impact is what that tax impact is going to be.
So backing up, thank you for that. It's interesting. There's an element that I wonder, I'm big on finance, right? That's the important part as far as my brain processes. But as hearing feedback from the community, I think it's really hard to understand where placing fifth graders go, because there was a big should on one of your slides. It said, should we need a bubble classroom? If we keep fifth grade together, then this is what it'll look like. But where do we put in our order of understanding when that should is this is what we're doing? Because can we organize the space without knowing that, right? If we treat fifth grade this way or that way, they act like sixth graders, they act like fifth graders in a sixth grade space. Like, where in this process do we start to answer those questions so that people can maybe contextualize the finances a little different?
Well, that design process is going to occur. It's going to occur after we have a question. It's going to occur after there's a passing of any potential referendum. Last referendum, we did site visits after that referendum passed. We made design changes after that referendum passed. For example, the collaboration spaces, right? So this is a very preliminary conceptual design. We have square footage in here. Whether there's that many classrooms in there or not can continue to be manipulated based on the cost, right? We have enough space here. The most we would need is those 7 spaces. If it's determined we don't need, if we're going to do things differently in fifth grade, we aren't married to this design or that many classrooms. We can continue design to further refine the design and update the design on what we need.
So it's conceivable that this design can accommodate two different strategies. Is that a fair summary of what you
Sure.
said? So then maybe it's a Jeff question too. Like where do we start to make that decision about what fifth grade would look like if that was the building?
So all of our discussions have fifth grade being in the new spaces. So we don't have any discussions about fifth grade being where eighth grade is now, or fifth grade being somewhere else. Like, so all of our discussion is around fifth grade being in those spaces, because those are the spaces that they're used to as they're going through our elementary school. It's patterned after that, and that goes with it. I mean, so as we meet tomorrow, I think I'm gonna get a better feel from our teachers of like what perspective they would like to see us with sharing. I don't see it being, I mean, the options are you teach all content areas, you know, and then the other two that I shared earlier, and there's three. I mean, you could have everyone do one thing, right? So say science, but then there's six, and we want someone to collaborate. So we want multiple people teaching the same content, so I can talk to you about how you're doing with your students. So I think there's really three options for them to consider and have discussions about that we can look at and move forward with. But like all of our discussions are about fifth grade being there.
And it just seems it's fair that as we get closer, there's a lot of meat on that conversation that we're going to have leading up to.
Right, and I think, and I think that's the important thing to remember too, is then that's where, you know, we've started having these discussions in the last month, and I think have made really good progress. And I know working with our fifth grade team, they're strong academic behavioral teachers that are going to have strong opinions about these things and are going to help move us forward with some really good ideas and perspectives on making this a successful experience for kids. So I think we'll be able to continue to provide updates on that, that as we move forward, because they'll be involved in that process.
Blair, I think to your point, at some point there's a number, and that goes into the referendum question.
Yeah, that's the secondary part of that
right,
question.
That there's got to be a number associated with this, and what it looks like in the end may not be fully determined when we have that number.
Yeah, a little. Yeah, that's the first part is
Right.
what is that? But I think that what I'm hearing a lot of just the questions out there is that they're both important pieces of the puzzle, and for someone to get to a yes or no, that's a really important piece, and it sounds like we got a good process to get there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just out of curiosity, have we had some preliminary discussions with the village about parking? I mean, because we're adding that much square footage, that many kids, more staff, is replacing the existing parking sufficient, or are we going to have to add more? It's always
Right, we did have a preliminary discussion on that the other day. Please remind me of some of the pieces. There were some parking. Name and address? No.
We know. Robert Kaler, Growth Design Group, Appleton, Wisconsin. We've engaged with Point of Beginning, a civil engineer, to do some preliminary analysis of the zoning ordinances, and as well as reach out to the village, the city. I don't know if that reach out has happened, but we have already reviewed the zoning ordinance and looked at the impact. Largely, the impact is based off of the number of full-time staff within the building. Not a significant difference here, and most of the parking you currently have is really as a result of the sports fields and the use that is not the school. So we're not seeing a dramatic change in this, and we'll be further analyzing that and addressing that through the parking diagram shown.
Thank you.
Other questions? So next steps, as you had laid out there, then that'll be at the finance committee, where we'll have some additional information as far as that feedback, and then in that meeting, we'll work on the question that will come to the full board then for the 18th. Okay, so informational only as far as the updates that we would ask administration to provide at tonight's meeting, and then the finance committee meeting on the 11th, and then we'll be back here on the 18th. Okay. Thank you for the update. Thank you for your guys' work so far. All right. Jay, Zaki, youth apprenticeship.
Yes, we are part of the Ozaki Youth Apprenticeship Consortium with Cedarburg, Mequon, Thiensville, Northern Ozaki, Port Washington, Stockville, Random Lake, and Cedar Grove, Belgium, and the Ozaki Economic Development Corporation. This is where students can be on 1 or 2 year apprenticeships. They apply to these career clusters of agricultural, food, and natural resources, architecture and construction, art, AV, technology and communications, finance, health science, hospitality and tourism, information technology, manufacturing, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, transportation, distribution, and logistics. We currently have 14 first-year and 10 second-year students participating in the program. You may recall last year, in the past, it's always been a cap. It's always been $4,000 it's been capped. Last year, they were experiencing higher costs, and so they took away the cap and charged us per student. And there was a lot of discussion at the board level about that. We passed that discussion on to OIA. We're happy that they have come back to say there will be a cap. So the cap this year is $500 per first-year student with a maximum cost of $4,000. So we'd had to look at some of the funding at the high school and some of the other programs that we were funding to be able to fund this year. And now next year, we'll be able to take that $4,000 for as many students as we have involved in youth apprenticeship. So we are asking for the board to approve the Ozaki Youth Apprenticeship 66.0301 agreement.
Any questions? Okay. All right, with that, I would look for a motion to approve the youth apprenticeship program agreement as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any additional discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Thank you very much. Gift reports.
Yes, we would ask for board approval for the following gifts that our district has received. Office Depot with Justin Brewick presented to Woodview Elementary an unrestricted Office Depot gift card in the amount of $1,502.91. I still remember Jill calling me the day that he called to say that they'd been selected, and she was ecstatic. So it's great to see it's $1,500. And then Grafton Athletic Booster Club, Ben Brehan, for donating to the girls' basketball program for its restricted gift for Brian Donaldson's Skills Sessions Takeover of $850. We have visual image photography with Courtney Lutz as the contact, donating $1,184.50 as a restricted gift for every 15 minutes. We have the Grafton Cedarburg Rotary Club, myself as the contact person, donating $3,000 as a restricted gift for every 15 minutes. We have Hampton Inn and Suites with Corrine Kangas, donating $1,668 in rooms in the conference room for every 15 minutes that our students were able to utilize. And we also have Mueller Funeral Home with Craig Plopper as the contact person, donating $947.90 worth of T-shirts and artwork for our committee and Living Dead students for every 15 minutes, a restricted gift with that.
All right, any questions? I would look for a motion to approve the gift reports as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that passes. We thank them for their generosity and support to our district, and we will get them a thank you letter.
We will. And one thing that's not on the agenda is that next month we start doing our school visits. So next month we'll be at Kennedy. So Kennedy will be presenting next month. Yep, what's that?
The 18th.
Yes, and it's also not on the fourth Monday. It is not on Christmas. So Dr. Gunderson has graciously volunteered to lead off again, so we'll be at Kennedy next month, and we'll publicize that, but we'll add that in my update next time for us to remind people.
Okay. All right, that takes us to adjournment. So pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.85, Section 1, subsection C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility for the purposes of considering administrative compensation and performance-related data of the superintendent. 2, pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.85, section 1, subsection D, considering strategy for crime detection or prevention for purposes of reviewing school safety drill information. And 3, pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.85, section 1, subsection C, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed sessions for purpose of considering the sale of district-owned land. Do we have a motion to go into closed?
So moved.
Second.
We'll take a voice vote. Bob?
Yes.
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 And yes, we are in closed. Thank you, everyone.